let's take you to Washington, D.C. That's where we find Dr. Krista Johnson, who's an Associate Professor at Howard University. Prof, thanks very much for your time, I beg your pardon. And welcome to the AM Report here in South Africa. We're watching with keen interest as, of course, these significant developments keep coming through over the past few hours. Let's hone in on one of those major developments, and that's President Donald Trump essentially heading to the courts in a show, according to many people, of really trying to bring into question the legitimacy of these elections. How much weight do you think a move like that at this stage of the vote counting process does it carry?
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing the question. Could you repeat that?
Sure.
We were talking about the legal challenges that the Trump administration is taking to the courts?
Precisely, and more significantly, how much weight you think it carries at this stage of the election?
Yes. So I think it depends where we are tomorrow and the next day. There are about 6 states that are still in play that have not yet been called, and the other states are still projected. So, you know, none of these votes or none of these tallies have been certified yet. But it really depends in terms of what it comes down to. At the moment, Vice President Biden is winning in Arizona and in Nevada. If that holds and he wins those 2 states, then that gets him to 270, but just 270. And that's kind of the threshold to win the White House. I think if we see him only win those 2 states, then you're going to see a number of legal challenges by the Trump administration, because then Trump will only need to come back and flip one of the states that he wants to contest, either Michigan or Wisconsin or perhaps Arizona or Nevada, and the presidency is back in play. If we have a different scenario by tomorrow or the next day where Biden has in fact won, it's likely that Biden has won Arizona, Nevada, but also perhaps Georgia and perhaps even Pennsylvania, then we have a different scenario. Now Biden has over 300 or closer to 300 votes of the Electoral College. And then, you know, any of the legal wrangling that the Trump administration or the Trump campaign wants to make really is going to fall more on deaf ears. And I think they're going to have more people in his own party come forward and say, there's really no way that you're going to, you know, be able to make up the backlog now.
Yeah. And I guess the question then becomes, how much time is there really before this, call it contention, spills over into the streets of the United States? We're already seeing sporadic protests, demonstrations. Nothing significant has been reported yet, but are you getting a sense that this is building pressure on the ground, so to speak, and perhaps pressure that might lead to regrettable scenes coming out of the United States?
I think that's definitely a possibility. I would say, though, for the overwhelming majority of Americans understand that this has been a unique election in the sense that you've had record turnouts and record numbers of people voting. And that also, because of COVID-19, that there have been record numbers of mail-in votes. So I think just, you know, rational people, rational Americans understand that it's just going to take a longer period of time for some states to count the votes and to get an accurate count. So I think certainly through Friday, if, you know, people are going to be patient and calm and waiting for the results to come out. If this drags on, or if the Trump administration decides to, they've already said that they may request a recount in Wisconsin or perhaps in Michigan or other states and take other legal action. In Georgia they're doing, then I think you are going to see an increased prospect of people taking to the streets and demanding, you know, a resolution.
Yeah, and Prof, lest we forget just how extraordinary this is. I mean, at this stage, again, of the election, we have a sitting president essentially calling into question the legitimacy of a contest which, according to some people, he might lose anyway. This is quite unprecedented. I mean, what do we make of this moment in history, for lack of a better term?
Yes. In many ways, I think that after 4 years of President Trump, we're a little bit used to this now. If you recall, in 2016, he he accused the elections of being rigged. Even when he won them, he decided that, well, he also had won the popular vote, and so, the 3 million extra votes that Hillary Clinton got were actually probably fraudulent votes as well. So this is his language. I mean, this is kind of his modus operandi. So it's not really, I think, surprising, and I think that, I wouldn't say that people are not taking him seriously, because his strategy also for this campaign has very, very much been one of disinformation. And he's certainly continuing to do that now as well. Today, actually, we haven't heard very much from him except until this evening. And then, but his sons have been out there and others have been out there sowing disinformation and also sowing fear that perhaps there's some stealing of ballots or dumping of ballots or fraudulent behavior going on in the counting of ballots. So it's not surprising, but I think people are at the moment remaining calm and anticipating that we're going to get an accurate count of the votes.
Well, for the sake of Americans and for the sake, indeed, of the rest of the world, I hope you're right. Thanks very much for your time and for giving us your insight from Washington, D.C. That right there is Dr. Krista Johnson, who's an associate professor at Harvard University. Thanks very much indeed.